So the recipe for today is going to be a tomato soup, but instead of concentrating on the recipe, actually we're going to concentrate on a few skills. So we're going to look at knife skills, and we're also going to think about how to follow a recipe. So importantly for a recipe, what happens is the ingredients are always listed in the recipe as you use them in the recipe, so you can see whether you've used all your ingredients in the right order or not. Okay, so we've got a little bit of ahead of the game here, but we're just going to show you a chopping technique called a rock chop, and we're going to do this with our carrot, our celery and our onion. This recipe calls for roughly sliced carrots and celery, but we're going to chop them quite small and make sure they're all the same size. So firstly, holding our knife, fingertips squeeze together here, and that's what's going to squeeze the blade, and the rest of our fingers kind of just wrap around the handle and balances. So we're going to do a rock chop, which means point of the knife is always in contact with the board, and we're going to push down, rock forwards and pull back. So we're creating a rocking motion. What we don't want to see is pulling the knife up and back towards us. We want to push down and away. So have a practice on the board before you get your vegetable. But our carrot, we're going to chop the top and the bottom off. We're leaving the skin on because it's got lots of goodness in it, and actually this carrot's really clean. We've got a little bit of a wash, so we're happy with the skin. We chop it into manageable sized chunks, and then holding it with our little claw grip, so fingertips underneath, thumb at the back, we are going to cut little strips of carrot, line them all up together, and then we're going to cut this way. So we hold it the same, thumb is at the back, fingertips underneath, and we do that rock chop where we push down, forwards, pull back. And no matter how close that blade gets to our fingers, nothing's going to happen because our fingertips are tucked underneath. If we were doing this, then that's a problem. So fingertips always under. Okay, so next up is our onion. And to be honest, onion is literally the favourite ingredient of mine in the kitchen. So we're going to chop it in half, create two nice flat surfaces, like so. We've got the root of the onion here and the tip of the onion here, the bit that grows out of the ground. We want to keep the root intact because it's holding the onion together, it's holding all the layers together. So actually we're going to cut from this side towards the root, leaving it intact as much as possible for as long as possible, and that'll help us chop it really easily. So we're going to cut the little tip of the onion off first, and this is going to help us peel the skin away until we've got a nice shiny layer. If it's not shiny, then you can just peel another layer off, and then we get onto the dices. So very handily, we have some nice lines on our onion already that go down here, which we can follow. So it's going to go this way. Remember, we're keeping the root intact, so we're not going to cut through there. We're going to hold it with that same grip, fingertips underneath, thumb at the back, and our knife is going to go in and down along some of these lines without cutting off the pieces. So we can see now we've got kind of like little fingers, but it's all still intact. Then we're going to cut towards the root. So we're holding it down, and we're going to do that same rock chop technique, but this time on the onion. And you can see as we chop down, everything's still intact. Gets a little bit tricky to hold on to here, so we just flip it over, and we'll do this side, we'll turn it around, we'll do this side, and the final side, we might flip it back that way, and all we're left with is this little bit which we can discard. Actually, we've got a little bit of that is our soup done. We hope you've learned some new knife skills. And we know that sometimes some of the fresh ingredients that we've used today are a little bit tricky to get hold of in supermarkets, but we have an amazing market in Newcastle called the Granger Market, and today they have launched something called Granger Delivery. So if you are looking to get some deliveries to home of fresh food, then have a look on their website, grangerdelivery.com, and see if you can get some fresh stuff in and be making your own soups at home.